Okay, I want to discuss the graphs of the sine and cosine functions that have both horizontal and vertical translations. So you'll notice a difference in the equation from the one we studied in the last video. The difference is we have this part here, D, and we have a more complicated section back here. Again, the A is still the amplitude. And the period is 2 pi over b, just like in the last section. The difference being we have two more parts to consider. So I like to consider, when you have something like this, 4 things to do. 1, the amplitude. 2, it's called the horizontal shift. Or change, and when you do that, you use the period that you figured out in number 2 here. Use the period, and then you use the period, and you have to find 2 things: the start of the graph and the end of the graph. So the start point and the end point. And then the 4th thing you have to do is the vertical shift. All right? And to do the vertical shift, basically, you just do y equals d as a new line on the graph. All right? So let's, so d has to do with the vertical shift, and the horizontal shift has to do with the C. So those are the 4 things that you have to do. So here's an example of a graph that you might be asked to or an equation you might be asked to graph during your homework. So let's go through all the 4 parts and find out what they are and see if we can graph this curve. So start with the amplitude. Do you know what the amplitude is? The amplitude is the A. So the amplitude is 2. All right, what do you think we want to do second? Period. What is the period? I need to do 2 pi over b. What is the b? Ooh, tricky. The b is hard to figure in this one. When you have x over 2, what's the coefficient there? Think of this as 1/2 x, and the b is 1/2. All right, so 2 pi over 1/2. How about 4 pi? You know how to do that, right? Okay, so now we have to find the horizontal shift, or the start and the end point. And that's pretty easy. You take this part here. So in this case, we take x over 2 minus pi over 4, and we set it equal to 0 for the start, and then we take x over 2 minus pi over 4, and we set it equal to 2 pi to find the end. You might say, why 0 and 2 pi? Well, in the standard sine curve, it starts at 0 and ends at 2 pi. This one's going to be offset by some amount, so now we're going to figure out why, and where. So, x over 2 equals pi over 4. So x equals, multiply both sides by 2, reduce, x equals pi over 2. That's our start point. Okay? Let's do this one. So x over 2 equals 2 pi plus pi over 4. Multiply by 2, x equals 4 pi plus pi over 2. There's our end point. So along the x-axis, we're going to go to pi over 2. That's where we start. And 4 pi plus pi over 2, that's where the curve, the sketch of the curve ends. Okay, last part before we can sketch our graph. Vertical shift is D. So there's D, there's D. So y equals d, so our vertical shift is y equal 3. So the sine curve is based about, instead of the x-axis, we're going to go up 3 units, and it's going to be the line y equal 3, and we'll have our sine curve up there. All right, let's see if we can do a sketch of this now. Here we go. Here's our x and y axis. Now, I like to put this line in first. So, 1, 2, 3. The line y equals 3. This is our new axis, okay? Our sine curve is going to be based around that axis. Now, so we got that on there. Next thing we want to do is find our start points and our end points. So it says to start at pi over 2. So pi over 2. And then remember, I like 4 parts. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And what's our end point? 4 pi plus pi over 2. So this would be 4 pi plus pi over 2. All right? Well, I guess you can't see that. Let's write it again. 4 pi plus pi over 2. All right. Now, maybe we want to have that as a better number to read. So how could I do that? Well, 4 pi over 1 plus pi over 2, that would be 8 pi over 2 plus 1 pi over 2. How about 9 pi over 2? You think that looks a little bit better? 9 pi over 2. Okay, so now we have that. We know that our curve is going to start here, and it's going to end here. We know we have the sine curve, so there's the middle point. Here's a point here for our high and our low. Our amplitude is 2, so it goes up 2 units from this 3. We're going to need some more space up here. So it's going to go up to 3, to 4, to 5, up to 5. That will be our high. So we'll go up to 5 here. And if I go down 2 from here, I'm down at 1, right there. Now I can sketch my sine curve in there. Now again, remember that the sine curve is a periodic function, and it continues the same repeat forever in both directions. So we have our amplitude. We have our period set up. We have our start point and our end point, and we started on our new axis. So we're all set, except I need to know the names of those points. See if you can figure them out. All right, so we got to figure out the divisions. Now remember, we said the span from here to here was 4 pi. If you can't remember that, you could subtract these two. So you could do 9 pi over 2 minus pi over 2 would be 8 pi over 2, or 4 pi. So our span is 4 pi, and we have to have each one of these the same amount, so I should do 4 pi divided by 4. What do I get? Pi. So each one of these is pi. So a little arithmetic here. Pi over 2 plus pi. Uh-oh, common denominators. How about 2 pi over 2? So that makes 3 pi over 2. There's our first division. 3 pi over 2. How do I get to the next one? Add 2 pi over 2, or pi. So what's 3 pi plus 2 pi over 2? 5 pi over 2. What am I going to add for the next one? 2 pi over 2 again. So we get 7 pi over 2. Now if we did this right, and I add 2 pi over 2 again, I better get that endpoint, so we're going to check it. 7 pi over 2 plus 2 pi over 2, 9 pi over 2. We did it right. Yes. So there's the curve. Points I'm going to look for. You always have to have 4 divisions here and label those points. No labels, no credit. I need to know the high point and the low point. I need to see the new axis I need to see the official start and end of the curve. Use dotted lines for the extensions if you like to have them there. I like them. Good luck with your homework.